And your song set up.
Yes. Thanks,
I would rather die of passion than boredom. Vincent van Gogh.
Tell the truth, even if your voice shakes. Maggie Kahn.
There is nothing scarier than being who you really are, unknown.
Good morning. My name is Sydney Courtmanch, and I'm a sixth form boarder from Madison, Connecticut. I feel extremely blessed to be in a place that allows us to share our stories with each other and get to know each other on a deeper level. This is why chapel talks are so important. When students come to the podium, they are vulnerable. When you vulnerably share a fear, struggle, or insecurity about yourself, it can resonate with others, which has the ability to foster a connection with those around you. In order to create a community with mutual respect and kindness, we need these connections. By being compassionate to others' vulnerability, we can now see them as multi-faced individuals with strengths and weaknesses, rather than just a surface-level stranger. In this chapel, we create these connections that will strengthen our community, whether you realize it or not. I've always thought about giving my own chapel talk and what story I would choose to highlight. With less than 2 months to go in the year, I've lately been thinking about what impact I want to leave at Westminster. So while I've thought about countless topics and stories that make up my life, I realized that choosing just one of these topics would not be sufficient. I, just like all of you, and made up of many pieces, not to be defined by just one story, word, or experience. I also came to the realization that most of the people in my life probably just see me in bits and pieces, while very few truly see all of me. I'd like to say I have some redeeming qualities, but I also have my fair share of faults. Some of you can only see me for my faults, while others are entirely blind to my faults, neither seeing me as whole. So, I decided I owe it all to you, to be completely and utterly vulnerable. And that's why today I chose to talk about the many pieces that make up who I am. In order to do this, I'll be using my journals as a part of my chapel talk. The 4 notebooks I have up here today will hopefully allow you to see through my layers so I'm no longer a surface level stranger. Now, it only makes sense to start from the very beginning. In September of 2011, I wrote my very first journal entry. I was 5, and the page only contained 4 words. To Mom, from Sydney. On the next page is my mom's response. Sydney, I heart you. Mommy. I didn't know how to read much at the time, so my mom used lots of symbols and pictures when she wrote to me. My mom and I started this journal when I was 5 to leave each other little messages. I would draw a picture and leave it on her nightstand, and the next day it would be back in my room with a note from her. This continued on for the next few years. Slowly, my 4 words turned into 8. Slowly, the hearts and peace signs turned into black ink paragraphs. And slowly, I was no longer writing to my mom about my Christmas list or how awesome field day was, but confiding in her when I felt exhausted and needed help. August 23rd, 2020, the summer going into my freshman year. I wrote to my mom, I'm really sad that next year is such a tough decision. The decision in question was whether to attend Westminster or stay at my public school for the following year. The thought of me leaving home scared my mom to death. The thought of not seeing me after school, making me dinner, or driving to see the sunset together was very upsetting for the both of us, to say the least. Leaving the safety of my mother's arms did not appeal to me, nor did leaving the solid group of friends I had at home. But I always knew I belonged at Westy. Unfortunately, that year wasn't like other years. It was consumed by COVID. So when it came time to make the final decision on whether I should go or not, my mom won. She didn't want me trapped up here during quarantine, and honestly, I thank her for this now. This is just one of the countless things I have to thank my mother for. I look at this journal as the base to our relationship that continues to strengthen itself every day. Mom, you are truly my best friend, and I would not be who I am without you. Thank you for being a piece of me. Now, before I move on to my next journal, it would be cruel of me not to mention the rest of my family, because, as you can see, my family never fails to show up. I had a record-setting 4 grandparents at every single Grandparents' Day Westminster has hosted. My dad somehow manages to make it to all my games, no matter the location, while working a full-time job. My sister, although she has to manage her own school and sports, always seems to be there for me. I can confidently say I wouldn't have been able to get through these past years without her. Tatum, thank you for letting me share Westminster with you. Thank you for picking up the phone when I'm bawling my eyes out. And thank you for being the best big sister anyone could ask for. And my brother, Shay, who doesn't get to campus as much as the other family members, still holds a very special place in my heart, which we will get to later. All of our families, whether we have issues or not, make us who we are. Remember that. There is no me without you guys. I love you. The next journal I will share contains entries from August of 2020 all the way to April of 2022. This 2-year span of my life was arguably the most difficult. My brother and sister had moved out of the house at this point, and I was in a weird transition from middle schooler to high schooler, and my emotions were raging and unpredictable. While my age was definitely a factor to this, I was also experiencing the peak of an untreated mental illness. I wasn't diagnosed with general anxiety disorder until I was 15. Later, I found out there was also a mix of OCD, depression, and impulsivity issues. The thing is, a mental illness isn't like a normal illness. You can't just catch it one day. I've always dealt with these things, but they've shown themselves in different forms. The problem is, when you're 4 feet tall, with bright blonde hair, you start cursing someone out, punching, or screaming, your family will probably laugh and write it off to be, oh, Sydney is so cute and feisty. Well, this is true. I was very feisty. I also struggled to find stability, constantly being tossed between highs and lows, never quite finding solid ground to stand upon. The first time I expressed this feeling in my writing was August of 2020. I'd gotten back from a friend's house and wrote, "I guess my stress has taken over lately. I can't exactly explain what has me so overwhelmed constantly, but it eats away at me all day. I can't function unless everything is in place, not just everything being neat in my room, but all aspects of my life have to be in place for me to be relaxed. My family, my friends, hockey, it all just stays in the back of my mind till I break down. When it gets me, my heart won't stop racing. I shake uncontrollably and cry and cry. I don't know what it is. I just want it to stop." September 10th, 2020. Again, I try to work through what I now know is a panic attack. I can't help it when my mind takes over and I start panicking and crying. I feel guilty because I know I live a very blessed life, and I should just be happy. But for some reason, I can't make it through the school day without thinking I'm gonna die. Luckily, that spring I was able to talk to a real therapist, and I was finally able to articulate some of this to my family and friends. But overcoming these issues has been a long process, and at this point in my life, I was still at the very beginning of this process. August 17th, 2021. My body gets so filled with thoughts, energy, fear, and emotion that I literally feel like my skin is going to burst. Anxiety consumed me for a very long time. As I assume half of this room has struggled with similar feelings, it's important to know that there will be good days, and then there will be days that are very hard. And while it will never just go away, I'm proud to say I've come a long way from that first entry in August of 2020. Working through these emotions has brought me closer to my family and friends in a way I never knew it could. It has taught me more about myself and pushed me to be a better person. I'm not me without my anxious and emotional brain. This piece of me is important, and I'm grateful for it. Now, I'll share a piece of me that isn't much of a secret, but it definitely can be misinterpreted at times. In my college essay, I referred to this piece of me as my feminine rage. You may call it anger issues, but I believe it comes from passion. My passion just tends to show itself as anger at times. Being passionate can be a good thing, but there's also some risk factors. You begin to neglect other things, like your relationships or other responsibilities, and your overall well-being. I tend to get passionate about a lot of things in life. I always want to give everything my all, but that's the irony of it. It is not physically possible to give everything your all. And if you give one thing your all, you'll have nothing left to give. For a long time, I tried to give my all to hockey. July 11th, 2021. I wrote about a conversation between my brother and I that have greatly changed my perspective. It said, "I'm really grateful to have Shay to give me advice and guide me through things. He said that life is all about balance, that without it, we can never be happy. Shay made me realize that there are more pieces to me besides hockey. Many. While I don't think this was intention, Shay's midnight ramble to me, after a few drinks, changed my life. From this moment on, I knew I was never going to let myself be consumed by one fixation ever again. So now, I keep balance at the forefront of my life because I never want my passion to be misinterpreted as an anger issue. Balance is embracing the many pieces that make up who you are, not just one. And lastly, there's a piece of me that was hidden for a long time, and I didn't realize that this secret was leaving a giant hole in my life. Once it became not a secret anymore, it was scary, sure, but my heart finally felt whole. In middle school, I did this thing when I would journal of writing down a few things I'm grateful for and a few things I'm struggling with. I'll give you a few examples from my 8th grade year. October 10th, positives, my sister comes home soon. Struggles, my sexuality. November 24th, positives, Thanksgiving break soon. Struggles, my sexuality. December 10th, positives, I love my friends. Struggle, dealing with my sexuality. I knew who I was for a long time, and by 8th grade I was finally starting to accept it. Not in the sense that I ever told anyone, but I was able to admit it to myself, which was a step in the right direction. But to be honest, I never planned on telling anyone, especially not at Westy. By sophomore year, things were clear to me, and this piece of me got harder to hide. But still, never in a million years did I think I would come out to this community. August 6th, 2022, summer going into my junior year. This has really been eating away at me. It feels like there's such a big part of my life that I'm hiding from the people around me. My friends that I trust my life with, I'm living a lie around. In Nantucket, I hit my breaking point. I finally told Westy, Annabelle, and Liv. If I had to rank my most favorite moments in life, admitting this piece of me to Westy and Annabelle would have to be in my top 5. I've never felt so loved in my whole life than when they both held me in their arms as I was bawling, crying, begging them not to hate me for this. They said they could never hate me and loved me more than ever before. This reaction gave me the confidence to tell my family and the rest of our friends, who all treated me with the same amount of love and kindness. And just a few months later, I decided I no longer wanted to hide this piece of me to anyone. So, there's a few things I hope you can take from this. 1, I hope you can see past my surface, the good, the bad, the messy, and everything else. I'm not ashamed of all my pieces because they build up who I am. 2, we all have our own stories. Some we will share, but most will go unread. And you will never truly know every page to someone else's story. And knowing that, we need to be gentle with each other. And 3, challenge yourself. Let your guard down just a little bit. Share a page or two of your own story. Let your true self be seen. Thank you.
My baby's a sailboat captain at sea. We don't give a damn, we do as we please. My baby's a sailboat captain at sea. My gal is a good one, tells me she's mine. Wish I was better looking, baby, don't mind. My gal is a good one, tells me she's mine. All I ever wanted was to make you happy, give you the truth. Anything to make you love me any more than you do. My baby's a sailboat captain at sea. We don't give a damn, we do as we please. My baby's a sailboat captain at sea. My gal is a good one, tells me she's mine. Wish I was better looking, baby, don't mind. My gal is a good one, tells me she's mine. My baby's a saint just like an old George, good with a dagger, skilled with a sword. She's all that and more. All I ever wanted was to make you happy, spit it all out. Anything to make me love you, any less than I do now. But you were in my head, and we were in your bed, and you said, yeah, I'm so very sorry for this. Lord knows if she goes, she's gone. Say you don't mean that. Lord knows if she goes, she's gone. Say you don't mean that. La da 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 da. All I ever wanted was to make you happy, give you the truth. Anything to make you love me any more than you do. My baby's a sailboat captain at sea. We don't give a damn, we do as we please. My baby's a sailboat captain at sea.